Good afternoon. This is Dr. Bill White with the American Orthodontic Society, and I want to talk to you a little bit about extracted first buys on cases. Now, back when this case was done, there was a lot more extractions being done than there are now. I'm going to try to show you some of the reasons for extracting teeth on this case. Is a nice young lady here, and I might as well just move into it right quick here. She has a rather protrusive profile. Now, that may satisfy some people, and her teeth are crowded too, and so it would get worse if we left them in there. Now these, now to show you something else, if you're back then when we had to take pictures of everything, and I carried these pictures in carousels all over the country and in different foreign countries in suitcases, and sometimes they were in damp areas, but got some mold on some of the pictures here. And so if you do that, keep this drying material in there to keep the mold from forming. It's really detrimental to the picture, so you'll have to look around it here for a little bit. But anyway, the protrusiveness of the face, you can look at her face, and it would be prettier if you could bring it back in some. At least some people would think so. There are other ethnic groups that are just everybody's full, so they like them that way. So I'll let people decide what they want, and so if in this case they wanted to reduce it, so let's kind of go on, and you can look at it from the front. The protrusiveness is there, and there's a little excess in the vertical height of the face. The lower third of the face is a little bit more than these other sections of the face. Now the forehead's about as much as it is. That's not a big problem to reduce the vertical height of the lower third of the face. Now, she has a class 2 problem also, so we're going to need to correct that, and we use cervical headgear. Back then we used a lot of it, and that tends to open the bite more. Now this is before bands came along, so this is a total, before brackets came along, and this is a total banded case, and that takes up a lot of space in there. So when you put the bands on the case, you got 2 layers of cement and 2 layers of metal between each tooth, so the teeth are spread out more, and so you have to give more torque to the teeth than you would want to, and then you close it and hope they look good with that. And you could not tell the people that this is what you're going to get as you can with brackets. So there's a big benefit to you for using brackets. So I'll just pass that on also. Excuse me. Now, here's the models. The cuspids are crowded out, and it's already full. And if we open this up and increase the room in here to put the cuspids in, it's obviously going to make the face even fuller. So these people wanted to reduce the fullness of it, and we did, and you can kind of see what we came up with here. It's also slightly class 2. This has got a tremendous amount of this fungus on it. Now once, this is another thing for the cameras now that take such nice pictures, and you don't have any chance of them getting fungus on them. But back then we had, when I went to speak to a group for a couple of days or something, I would have to take 2 huge, as big as they would take on an airplane, cases full of carousels that were full of slides to last the whole 2 to 3 days that we would go. And sometimes you had to haul these overseas. We did that several times, and this suitcase might get in areas where there's a lot of dampness, and so you have a problem with fungus forming on the teeth, on the slides and stuff. So anyway, those days are over, and you can just be darn grateful that they are. You don't have to put up with that stuff. But we did, and we banded cases, and it was a lot more work doing orthodontics back in those times. Now this is slightly class 2, and the protrusiveness and the bites closed to a good bit. I mean, your lower anterior teeth go up. I'm going to show that, I think, from the back side of the models. I'll show that in just a minute. I think that comes up. And the upper cuspids are crowded out. And if you stick them back in there, it's obviously going to make the thing fuller than it is now, and it's already too full. So that's a good reason to take out the teeth. Just go for the aesthetics of it. Everybody wants to look good, but some people think fullness is a good looking thing. And so if they do, make them full. It doesn't matter to you. Let them be full. Or if they want them straight, so let the family and the person choose. A lot of times extraction or not extractions on the teeth. All right, then here the lower arch is crowded, and the lower anteriors have over-erupted. They're up above the rest of the teeth, and when we put them together, they fit underneath there, and it kind of traps the lower jaw back. Now when you look in here, this person can't chew like you really should be able to grind your teeth back and forth and grind your food. It's much more efficient chewing. And when your lower teeth are up here, if you slide to the side, these teeth are going to hit right in here, and there won't be anything else hitting. So they can't chew. They can do it, but it's be open and just touch it in one area. So this ought to be leveled out, and this is something that we just do automatically with the cases. Now, here we were using cervical headgear, and the angle that you have pulling on this is down. So cervical headgear, as you back up the things, it also has a down pull on it, and class 2 elastics has a vertical down pull, and so you have to be careful and get the person functioning correctly so they're chewing and keeping their teeth, keeping the vertical height of the lower third normal as you go through the case. So that's something you have to think about in orthodontics. And here she's smiling with that occipital, that cervical headgear, and now this is just a class 2 elastic, but class 2 elastics tend to have a vertical component too. You've got a box, something like that, and this would be the vertical component compared to the horizontal component of the pulling. All right, this is total bands now, and you don't see this. This is back in the early 70s, and we finished the case up. The midlines lined up good and everything, and looks like we used a little class 3 elastic, or maybe we must have had something like that. This is a class 2. Maybe we went past and had to come back with a class 3 elastic. But anyway, we've got it up there good now, the good overjet and overbite. It looks about as good as you can get it. And then we're going to have to take all this off and close these spaces in here. Now, sometime the space will see up above where the teeth come in contact here, so you didn't lose as much space as you would think you would lose on it here. So let's take a look at the side. And we've got it in a good solid class 1 relation, and we're going to go ahead and finish this out. Now, I didn't get this one rotated correctly, and the lower's looking good. So, and we've got the second molars are in. We have banded them, but we normally always band the lower second molars, or bracket them if we're doing that. All right, we're going ahead and we'll take this out and put it in a retainer. And that's in the retainer now. All the spaces are closed, so we wore a light elastic, and sometimes I'd put a little acrylic pad here and make a groove in it, and put a little pad over here and make a groove, and wear a light elastic from molar to molar in here, and have them chew bubble gum and everything, just as much as it could. We get them back in 2 or 3 days. A lot of times the space would be closed up, and boy, when it was closed, we took an impression of it, and we would build them a retainer that would hold that space together and allow the teeth to erupt together in here, as we've shown in several videos. Now, down here, normally we put a 3 to 3 down on the bottom, and I don't think we've done that here. All right, we have an intruding kind. Well, that's just an omega on this, and we're pulling back, but it's intruded those some, as they were higher up in the lower teeth were higher than the bicuspids and cuspids in here when we started. So here's this finished. This tooth is not done properly, and so I just missed it, and it looks good on the bottom now, and we'll take that out and put something on there. Here we are at a later date with everything out, and it's finished, and it's in an excellent class 1 relation. When we got back, and we torqued it more than we wanted, and the torque looks the torque looks good now. All right, here it's a little later, and this tooth has rotated out some, so she may not be wearing a retainer as good as we would love for her to. And the bottom is lined up good. And this is 1977. That's several years after we started, and we still have these bands up here, but we can take those off with a retainer, and it just has a slight space there that we close with a loop in the retainer. Would come out like this, and we can close that loop and pull that space together later. And the teeth are looking good, and she is functioning with them. The teeth are erupting together and look good there. That one tooth that stands out a little bit is not detracting from it, and this is lined up good. So here we are. We've still got the 6-year molar bands on. the wisdom teeth. I forget what, but I don't have the pictures of them later. But here she is, about 5 or 6 years after we started, and this is a much nicer vertical. Petrusiveness is gone, and the vertical height, she's functioning good. And when somebody swallows and bites too, every time they swallow and press their teeth together, they tend to reduce their vertical height of the lower third of the face over a period of years. Now this is hard to prove, but with symptometrics, I'm sure you can pretty well prove that. She didn't have too much excess here, but it looks good now. And then when we turn around, and now it's a beautiful smile, but it's too much gum tissue showing in here. Now, if you have a patient and they smile, and they really smile big, and their gums show, teach them how to smile where they don't show so much gum tissue. In other words, you can smile pretty nice and look good without getting your upper lip way up there. As Cary Grant, doesn't even have one of his centrals is gone. And so you never see him smiling big. He just kind of does like that. He's a nice looking guy too, but he's missing a central. And he doesn't just crank up and have a big old smile. You'll rarely see a picture of him with showing his upper front teeth. Now this is a little more like it right here. However, I don't dislike the gumminess. Now you can stretch this the upper lip. When I had my orthodontics done, my teeth showed too much, and the Dr. Gillespie had me pulling my teeth down like this, pulling the lip over my teeth. And today, my lip hangs down about 2 millimeters lower than my teeth, so you hardly see my upper teeth. So you can stretch the lip. If these people can stretch their earlobes down this big, you can stretch the lip tissue if somebody wants to, and they won't have this gumminess of the smile. She's a very pretty young lady. So this is the reasons for taking out the teeth. In this case, was that it was just too bloomin' full for my taste and for their taste, the family. So they wanted it done, and we did it. And it also reduces the number of teeth, so the vertical height of the face has a tendency to lower down. If the pressure is the same on fewer teeth, it tends to close this distance between the nose and the chin, and that helped. And this certainly looks good there. See, that looks good, and this looks good. So hope you picked up something from this. We extract very rarely now, but back when this was done, sometimes they just extracted on everybody. That was wrong. Now you do need to take some teeth out on a few people, but it is reduced considerably in number. So I'm going to close, and hope you subscribe to our organization and everything. We'd love to have you in there, and we'll try to continue with these videos. So I'll hang it up and say goodbye. If I can